Well, I guess that works now. Sorry for that. I don't know. I really no idea. No, that's about it. That's all you're gonna get from me in regards to what I think is going on. But sometimes it's just you just restart a software and it works. So it happens. I don't have a crew of 85 people here like TV studios do, or however many, where they can problem solve live on the spot and switch over to other things until they figure out what's going on. It's just the reality of it. Sorry for my voice. It's still not fully functional back to its proper ordering of things, but this is just my reality. Drop a comment. Hit that like button. Let us know what's going on. My mood is not in the greatest shape. And I guess we'll talk about that a little bit as to why my mood is not Mahmoud. My mood is not in its proper settings. Probably end up showing you guys some videos and explaining to you guys what's happening. So I just saw your text. No, thanks. I don't know what it was. So what's going on, folks? So woke up to some bad news in the morning. I woke up to like 40 some odd messages from my folks in Armenia, some friends that I'm in the chat with. And yeah, I guess I'll just show you guys what's happening. So probably much better. And then the link is there. You guys are more than welcome to call in and have a conversation. But this is the sort of news I woke up to today in the morning. This is coming to you from Channel 4 News. It might be a French thing. I'm not sure. But here you go.
This morning in Stepanakert, the capital of Nagorno-Karabakh, the government of Azerbaijan said it had mounted a counter-terrorist operation. But the ethnic Armenians who live here saw it as an unprovoked and opportunistic attack. They may try to fight back, even though their allies in neighbouring Armenia say they're not fighting.
The Republic of Armenia is not involved in the military action, and I would like to state once more that the Republic of Armenia doesn't have an army in Nagorno-Karabakh.
Civilian casualties were taken to hospital. Azerbaijan claims that Armenia does have soldiers in the enclave, and it will fight until they surrender. The largely ethnic Armenian enclave of Nagorno-Karabakh is internationally recognized as part of Azerbaijan. The Armenian government has abandoned its historic claim. However, Azerbaijan recently blockaded the only road out to Armenia, along which it may now force people to flee.
In fact, Azerbaijan has started a ground operation aimed at the ethnic cleansing of the Nagorno-Karabakh Armenians. As our Foreign Ministry statement has it, first, the Russian peacekeeping force must take measures. Second, we expect the UN Security Council to act as well.
Russian peacekeepers seen here in training have been holding the line since the last war in 2020. But they don't appear to have done anything to stop today's attack, even though Azerbaijan says it warned Russia in advance. Maybe this is why. Last week, Armenia held military exercises with the US, and the Armenian government has expressed sympathy for Ukraine. So maybe Russia, which used to support Armenia, is no longer quite so sympathetic to its former ally and their ethnic brethren in Nagorno-Karabakh. In the Armenian capital, Yerevan, today, protesters attacked government buildings, shouting that the Prime Minister is a traitor for not defending Nagorno-Karabakh. But maybe the real problem is that he's defied Armenia's old protector, Russia, and Azerbaijan is seizing the moment.
Lindsay Hilson. Well, a short time ago, I spoke to the Armenian ambassador to the UK, Varujan Neresyan. I started by asking him what Azerbaijan's intentions are in Nagorno-Karabakh.
Today's attack or aggression against Nagorno-Karabakh that is shamelessly framed by Azerbaijan as a counter-terrorist operation comes as a culmination of 9-month-long illegal and inhuman blockade against the people of Nagorno-Karabakh.
These are the 120,000 or
Yes.
so ethnic Armenians who live
Absolutely.
inside Nagorno-Karabakh.
For more than 9 months, the population of Nagorno-Karabakh have been sieged and blockaded inhumanly by the government of the Republic of Azerbaijan.
The Azeris would say this is payback for what the Armenians did in that neighborhood when you had the upper hand, when you conquered back some of that territory after the first Karabakh War.
That absolutely is not true. The first Nagorno-Karabakh War of 1991, 1994 has been a response to Azerbaijan's large-scale aggression against the people of Nagorno-Karabakh.
The British oil giant BP has a huge interest in Azerbaijan. They're the biggest Western oil company in Azerbaijan. What do you think the British government should do in order to diffuse this crisis?
We're hoping and expecting the British government should use its influence over Azerbaijan. So we're hoping the UK, along with those friends and allies of UK, will step in and demand stop of the violence.
But part of the problem here for you, it seems to be that you got so close to the Americans, you invited the Americans in to do joint military exercises just a few weeks ago, that what's happening right now is payback from Moscow for what you did, for getting too cozy with the West.
Armenia has been openly, talking about also diversifying its foreign and national security policy. So hosting military drills in Yerevan is not in no way or form directed against any third party.
There's just a statement, just in the last few minutes, from the Azeri government saying that they will continue until the end, until Armenian forces stand down. But Armenian forces aren't fighting, are they?
Well, the Republic of Armenia is not engaged in any way. The entire aim of Azerbaijan is to try to engage Armenia in this war. There are no Armenian forces in Nagorno-Karabakh. Yeah. There are no Armenian military.
But there are Russian peacekeepers.
There are
2,000 Russian peacekeepers. What are they doing to keep the peace right now?
Well, strangely, Azerbaijan, before initiating this aggression, announced that they have informed the Russian peacekeepers and Russian-Turkish joint military center in Azerbaijan, which is strange. We're still waiting comments by Russian government. We have not seen...
So you're very worried that the Russians have basically hung you out to dry on this one?
Well, I cannot comment on that at this point before we heard and we have seen, because Nagorno-Karabakh is cut off from information. We don't know what is the Russian peacekeepers' attitude. But so far, before Nagorno-Karabakh had connection, we didn't see that peacekeepers intervene.
The fact that the Azeri government is saying they will continue until you back down completely, they will continue, I quote, to the end. Doesn't that give you the impression that they're on a roll right now? They're not listening to you, or indeed to the UN.
It speaks about one thing. It speaks for that Azerbaijan is fully committed to conduct an ethnic cleansing or even a genocide in Nagorno-Karabakh.
Ambassador Nsesian, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you so much for this invitation.
So that's the sort of news I woke up to in the morning today, and as many of my friends, many Armenians did, and so our attention is there. This is never good because of collateral damage and the innocent. Yeah, the issue is that they're all innocent. So if I were to show you, let me see. Oh, okay. So news just came in. What is this? 4 minutes. So Aznavur Sagyan, the mayor of Martuni, has been killed. So a lot of these images are coming.
Քաղաքապետ Ազնավուր Սաղյանը մի քանի բառ փոխանցեց ազատությանը, կռիվ է, վիրավորներ կան։
Այո, կռիվ է։
Վիրավորներ ունենք Մարտունիում։
Այո, ունենք։ Դե չեմ կարող խոսել, հա մնացեք։
Տունու քաղաքապետ
So he was saying that there are casualties.
Քաղաքապետ Ազնավուր Սաղյանը մի քանի
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, well, it doesn't seem like much of the world cares what they are and what they're doing. Like that's just the reality of it. I've sort of come to terms with it in the sense that if there are no interests of the West, say like the Ukrainian situation, nobody's gonna care. So this is a situation in which nobody cares. Whether that country has the most, Azerbaijan has like the least freedoms of most of the world. They've had two leaders, father and son, so essential dictatorship since 1990. That's 30 some odd years. And it's like they teach alternative history, so you can compare them to North Korea quite a bit. They're a bit more freer than North Korea, but you can compare them to North Korea in regards to alternative history being taught. You can compare them to North Korea as a generational father-son kind of dynasty being set in place in regards to its leadership. Dude made his wife the vice president of the country. We can go on all day about it. And the reality is still that, people look at it, Western powers look at it, and, they'll be like, oh, don't do that. We are encouraging you to stop the fighting. And they'll say stuff like that. But, the Russians are there and in Ukraine, and it's like, no, we got interest there. And so therefore we're going to supply them with every last penny and give them all the weapons we can so they can fight the Russians. The evil Ruskies are coming, right? Like, but yet when you get individual, like this is a country, by the way, this is not going to stop. I was watching a video earlier on where the Azeri dictator was saying, Armenia, modern day Armenia, is Western Azerbaijan. I just love how it just makes stuff up. I guess when you're in a country where the history just can be taught and invented from any random idiot, then yeah, you can invent stuff like that. You can say things like, "Oh, this other country, yeah, oh well, it's historically our land." It's like historically you didn't have a country till 100 years ago, but historically it was your land. How does that make sense? But whatever. And I mean, those are definitely like genocidal intentions and depopulation and war language. Like after we're done with this, we're gonna, because he says in that interview, he says, well, once the Nagorno-Karabakh situation is fixed or resolved, then I'm actually trying to find that video. Then we're going to turn our attention to Armenia. Essentially, that's what he's saying. I'll pull that video up for you right now. So any other like world leader making statements like this, it'd be a huge issue, right? Like imagine, especially in the midst of war. Read the captions. How does this not have audio, man? Just okay, that's hilarious because earlier on I was listening to that same video and it had audio.
Bizim torpağımızdır. Və mən bunu dəfələrlə deyəndə sonra mənə irad tuturlar, çalışırlar irad tutmağı ki, mənim ərazi iddiam var. Mən bunu tarixi həqiqət kimi deyirəm. Və bununla paralel olaraq mən hesab edirəm ki, birgə səylərlə biz Qərbi Azərbaycana qayıdış konsepsiyasında işləməliyik. İndi Qarabağ münaqişəsi həll olunandan sonra bizim gündəlimizdə duran məsələ budur. İndiki Ermənistan bizim torpağımızdır. Və mən bunu dəfələrlə deyəndə sonra mənə irad tuturlar, çalışırlar irad tutmağı ki, mənim ərazi iddiam var.
Qərbi Azərbaycana qayıdış bugün hər bir Azərbaycanlı üçün milli məsələdir və gənclər bu mövzuda yüksək fəallıq göstərməlidirlər. Qərbi Azərbaycan həqiqətlərinin dünya ictimaiyyətinə çatdırılmasında könüllülərin fəaliyyətinin təşviq edilməsi mövzusunda keçirilən məlumatlandırma sessiyasında bu fikir səsləndirilib. Vurğulanıb ki, Azərbaycanlıların doğma yurda qayıtması uğrunda apardığı haqq mübarizəsinə dəstək vermək üçün gənclər kifayət qədər gücə və əzmə malikdir. Tarixi həqiqətlərin dünyaya çatdırılması istiqamətində gənclərin fəaliyyətlərinin intensivləşdirilməsi zəruridir. İcmanın qarşısında duran əsas məsələlərdən biri də son 200 ildə tarixi torpaqlarımızda soydaşlarımıza qarşı ermənilərin törətdiyi vəhşilik aktlarının gündəmə gətirilməsidir.
Son 30 ildə biz Qarabağ
During COVID, that's when I started getting.
You know, I hate liars. It's just lies, man. Let me see. Arthur, can you stream Discord to YouTube, or will it only work to call in via eCam? Let's try. Do you want a video call or do you want an audio call? It's all basically territorial claims, correct? I'm having trouble. Yeah, it is. I have a video on kind of the historical conflict. I have a couple of videos actually on there, David, on my channel. You can go check them out. And I think it's a pretty fair and well-balanced breakdown of kind of the situation. Yes. So I think I'm pretty sure I can, yeah, I can stream it into the software. So if you call me, we can test it. Apologia. So I'm in the conversations. Yeah, so try audio. Let's see how this works. Okay, I don't know if my audio is set up. Can you hear me in there? So I'm not able to hear you when you're speaking. In the Discord chat, I should be able to hear you, but I'm not for some reason. What's up, man? So why is it that I can't hear you is the question. Okay, other people are in there. Oh, I know. Hang on. We'll fix this. Okay, why don't you guys talk? Let me see. Someone. Maybe now?
Hear me now?
Oh, yes.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Like a daycare.
Fix it.
Like a daycare?
Fix it. You can hear me, right? I'm really hoping you can hear me.
If you're talking, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now? That's interesting.
Now I think I can hear you.
Yay. I think it's been fixed. So.
But I'm echoing myself.
Yeah, you got to put it on headphones or something like that. Let me see. We might just have a group Dude, this is genius. Why didn't you tell me this before?
Arthur, can you hear me?
I have an earbud in.
It might be because you have YouTube on.
No,
Arthur, can you hear me?
I closed the YouTube thing. Or I paused it a long time ago and I was looking at the chat.
Yeah, David, I can hear you. Saprad, I can hear you both.
David, when you talk, can you hear yourself echoing back on Discord?
Hmm.
Does this really work? I'm gonna mute myself.
So I'm trying to figure out why you're getting a feedback. Why don't you speak? Let me see if it's me. It might be double inputting from my end into the Discord.
Okay. I'll try to speak, but I don't really know what to say, so I guess I'll just say pneumono ultramicroscopic cilianovocaviconiosis.
Is that still echoing in you for you?
No, I think it stopped.
Okay, that's good.
I can hear you now, and I'm not echoing.
Dude, this is smart. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to, you can always jump onto Discord and we can do this sort of stuff, I guess, in the future instead of calling in on Ecamm. We just stream our Discord conversations
Cool.
into YouTube. Look at that. I guess that works well.
I don't think I'll be able to read comments.
Yeah, it seems like Discord is kind of like optimized for really crappy internet connections because a lot of people use it on mobile. So it seems to work well for me, but a lot of other things don't. Like I can never get Whereby to work. I've tried to call into Pine Creek a bunch of times. It never works.
That's interesting. I'm pretty sure if I wanted to, I could use my phone to feed the audio into Ecamm. But I don't know what kind of audio I could feed into my phone. It'll be kind of crazier. I don't know how I would be able to fix that situation. It's just a lot of being connected at the same time. That's sort of the problem. Mike Rose says, Arthur, are you going to be on the call tonight? Probably not, because I'm going to be streaming with the Why Jesus Network guys tonight. I know last week I said I was supposed to be on, but I had my dates wrong. So I'm going to be on tonight with them. But this is a good idea. I like this. I like that people can call in on this Discord. Okay, there's a nerdy person here that's telling us probably because Discord doesn't prioritize QoS, whatever that means. Okay, let's can we try to have a normal conversation and see how this goes?
Yeah.
Okay, go for it. You lead it.
We can try.
Good call. Mind you, I'm a bit distracted today.
Fair enough. Well, my name's Taylor. We could start there.
Yes. Long-time viewer.
Yeah. Sorry if there's a lot of background noise. My daughter is driving around in a little electric car.
That's cool.
It seems like I'm feeding back to myself again, though.
Let's see. Let's see if that's still the case.
Okay. I see Jerome's in the chat now. Yeah, it's still feeding back.
Okay, so is it feeding back now? Why don't you talk? Tell me if it's feeding back. Yeah, I think I know the reason why this is happening. I don't know how to fix it. So basically, it's not feeding back. I can hear you and we're just fine. But the problem is that the YouTube folks can't hear you. Let me try something here. Let's see if this will work. Okay. Let's see. Can you speak, please? Yeah, unless I turn... I don't know how to stop that weird feedback. That's insane. So my output is essentially feeding my YouTube output to you as well. And I don't know how to make it not do that.
But when it's feeding back, though, it's only feeding back my voice. And I would think if it was the YouTube thing, then I would hear you talking in echo as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure. 'Cause that's the only thing that I change where that feedback happens is when I go from Ecamm feeding the output to YouTube to my mixer, and when I put it on my mixer, which doesn't feed your audio to Ecamm, then there's no echo. Once I change that, there's an echo.
Is Ecamm what you're streaming through?
Yes. So Ecamm like develops it's got like a virtual mic and a virtual audio, I guess, that it uses to get all the sounds from my monitors and stuff like that. So if I play a YouTube video, like there's a system kind of audio that it picks up on. I think it's like super confusing and it doesn't need to be, but that's the way it is. So that's the only way it's picking it up. And I don't think I can change it when it comes to Discord. I mean, I can change it when it comes to Discord. I can, if I put it like here, and it's like you can hear me and I can hear you when you talk, but YouTube can't hear you. Well, it's going to be weird. When people are watching on YouTube, all they're going to see is me talking to myself. If they don't hear you. Sometimes, yeah. Well, if somebody's, yeah, in this case, it's definitely bad. Well, or just talking to voices in my head. Okay. Let me see if there's a way I can make this. Can you have the mixer receive audio from your computer and not Ecamm? Yes, that is exactly what's happening now. Henry. But the system's not picking it up. That's the problem. So the eCam system is not picking up all of it. Let's see. Why don't you talk? Let me see if there's a change there. See, now I can't hear you. That is weird. Yeah.
Well, I don't hear you echoing either, but
Yeah, but now you will.
I did hear myself echo.
Are you hearing echoes
Now
now?
it sounds like super choppy.
Yeah, I don't know why that would be the case. Let me see something. Okay.
Check, mic check.
Okay. I think I think, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. I fixed it. I'm going off my phone, and I guess that works. Because I'm feeding my phone into the mixer on the same exact channel that I'm on. So it's coming through.
Okay. It sounds all right.
Yeah, it's sort of like you calling in, like on a phone.
Okay, cool. Anyway, how's it going though?
Not so good today. Not so good.
Why not?
I don't know when you jumped into the stream. I was speaking about the situation in a place called Artsakh, and which is ethnically Armenian populated, and the Azeris launched a full-scale offensive today in the morning. They got some weird obsession with launching attacks in September. It's very interesting to see why they do that, but they did, and so they were just bombing the city today. They've been starving the people of that region for, I don't know, 180 days or so. They're not letting any humanitarian aid come in there and all that stuff. So the people are probably very weak and malnourished, and now they're bombing them. So that's what I woke up to.
You said it was Azerbaijan attacking?
Correct.
Is that
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm. If you like YouTube Azerbaijan attacks ethnic Armenians, you're gonna get a lot of stuff. People explaining kind of what's going on.
Okay. I guess I don't really know what to say about that, to be honest.
I don't expect you to say anything, honestly. Like, it just, I appreciate it, but there's not much you can say, really. I think David's joined us as well. So welcome, David. You can talk, bro. You can come into the conversation anytime you want.
Notice when I muted myself, I was able to really hear you guys really clear. I don't know how I'm coming out. I'm actually trying to help out test it. So I don't know how much of a delay. Can you guys hear me good?
Me?
Yeah, there's no delay. I can hear you just fine.
Oh, good. Good. That's good. Well, I'm glad you called in, Taylor. Arthur, we've been having quite a bit of conversations on Discord. I think it's been good overall. We have a fair share, like we have a good balance of, I would say, believers and people that don't believe as of yet. And it's made for good conversations. As you could see, if you don't go on Discord for like half a day, you come back to 150 unread messages.
Yes.
So, but it's been pretty good. I think that we make progress in some areas, and in other areas there's more contention. And I think we're starting to get more comfortable with each other.
Mostly Jerome.
It all turns around and goes back to Jerome again. As we're talking, I'm going to try to create a graphic, by the way. Go ahead. I want to do something, see if it's feasible, but go for it, you guys.
I guess I have one question, a question for you, Taylor. What's been like a benefit? I'll just start there. I have a question. What's a benefit from kind of being here? Something you've learned or something that you find interesting, or just what's your thoughts?
I'm sort of just interested in how people think and how people that think differently to me, I guess, just sort of like process the world and life and things like that. If I'm taking the question seriously, that's probably what I would say.
And you used to be a Christian, right, Taylor? Or am I getting that wrong?
Kinda. I wasn't really raised in any religion. Never like went to church or anything, but there was sort of like this when I was in junior high and high school.
Mm-hmm.
Just for like a couple years, actually, there was sort of like this. It was like a social movement, like a non-denominational youth group thing.
Okay.
That a lot of my friends like joined in with, and I would say I called myself a Christian for a while, and I even I liked singing a lot of the songs and things like that, and I actually joined like a praise band as a singer and went around for a whole summer going to different churches.
Churches?
Yeah.
How? I'm not going in church.
With some friends of mine.
How old is your daughter?
This one is 7.
Inquisitive minds always
You're
listening.
7, right?
8.
Yeah, you'll be 8 too.
My birthday. Everybody say happy.
Kids are very inquisitive. They want to know about everything. So, Dave, you there, brother?
Yeah, I just muted myself. I think he dropped out, right?
Yeah, he did. I think he'll be back.
Yeah, so like I was saying, it's been good. It's been pretty good having us all together, kind of talking and having different views on subjects. And it's pretty interesting how the internet makes the world so much smaller, So we're talking from all parts of the world, and communicating. And here's the other thing I find interesting is that we're trying to, sometimes things are misunderstood because we're just from different regions, we're thinking different, but we're still willing to engage and work through those differences to try to find common ground. And it's been good.
I appreciate you, by the way.
Sorry, I disconnected.
It's all good. I was saying I really appreciate that David's taken initiative in engaging in those conversations, because it's part of my personality is I don't like conversations in written form very much. So I hate texting long. I don't mind texting quick stuff, right? Even with my wife, and my friends know this very well, that if they text me something, and they're in the chat, they'll probably say this, but they'll text me something and then my response is okay. And I expected more from that, and so I appreciate some of you guys in there really engaging and having fruitful conversations. It means quite a bit to me. Again, whether that's believers or unbelievers, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny because I don't mind the messaging, but as I've been saying in Discord, we've reached a place that there needs to be a deeper way to communicate, because the messaging sometimes becomes problematic. It's not the best way at all to resolve conflict at all with anybody. And really, text messaging and messages shouldn't be long. But we've managed to try to figure that out. But now it's taken us to this deeper place. So even Taylor took the initiative. He's talking about calling in with Discord.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a deeper way to communicate now that we need to get to in order to have these kind of next level conversations that can't happen with all these paragraphs on messaging, and it leaves room for misunderstanding and it leaves room for offense and all those things that come with it.
Correct.
Yeah, but in defense of writing, typing, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes I personally feel like I can slow down and think about things and articulate myself better and take more time.
Yes.
To say what I really mean. And I don't know, I will say there's times when things get out of hand, but for the most part, people are pretty much polite with each other so far.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with other people having those conversations. I just personally don't. I'm more talkative, so it's more of a personality thing. I'm trying to arrange this. Yeah, it's more of a personality thing. I mean, it's probably one of the first things that I realized in marriage was that conversations with my wife were best done for me. She was expecting me to write and communicate in the written word. She expresses herself best when she writes things down, and I don't. I'm very dry. I'm very to the point. It seems like I'm very insensitive. But some folks really love it and they're good, and they enjoy it. So that's partly why, I was talking to a friend of mine, and I was like, "Hey, I'll probably end up making a bunch of people mods on Discord as well, so that they can arrange kind of how these things look and what the conversations are. Because I'm also not a Discord user in that sense, like in my normal average day life. Some folks are. They're like in this, group and that group, and which is fine. But I need help in those areas, is what I would say.
Don't make me a mod. I'll ban all the Christians and nuke the whole server.
Yeah, I won't make you a mod. I'll make Tom a mod. I know you and Tom were going at it yesterday a little bit. He put up a big giant list of things you shouldn't say or you get like canceled or something.
Who?
Tom K.
Oh, yeah. I thought he was just playing around.
He was.
We were just joking, I thought.
No.
Well, if Pasabi joins, we're all in trouble. So
yeah, well, if he becomes a mod, then yeah, we'll really be in trouble. But I don't want him to be a mod. He needs to become a Christian first.
I guess, Arthur, to try to steer this conversation, since the kind of channel that we are, I just have like a question also for Taylor. What would compel you, or what would bring you to want to follow Jesus? As this is obviously a Christian channel, theological channel. These are the discussions we have. What would make that for you? What would allow you to make that decision, or what's holding you back?
Well, right now I'm getting Lila some chocolate milk, so give me a second, sorry.
Kids always come before these conversations, don't they?
Duty calls. Arthur, how many can you have on this now that you've been doing this Discord?
I have no idea how many. Yeah, I have no idea how many folks Discord can have in one conversations. I suppose unlimited amount, but it's probably not that.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll ask the chat on YouTube. Do you guys know how many people Discord can have in a voice conversation? Jerome said, we know Arthur isn't a Discord user because it took him several months to turn off his sound notifications. I couldn't find that. It's so complicated. Like I couldn't find the settings. Arthur, do you, this is a good question. Arthur, do you actually read through all the text on Discord? Depends how many there are. If it's like a reasonable amount, yeah, I'll actually scroll and kind of skim through the conversations. If it's entertaining, and if it's entertaining is the wrong word, but if I realize the conversation's of a quality that I would maybe have something to say about it, or I'm interested in it, then yeah, I'll continue reading. If not, then I'll just hit the mark as read button. Standard Discord, the VCS, has a limit of 99.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. There you go. That would be chaotic, wouldn't it?
Well, we learn new stuff with this technology. So here you have like another way,
Yeah, I actually enjoy this a lot more than people calling in, because if people are on Discord, they can just jump into the conversation immediately, and it's fine for me, right? It doesn't bug me at all. The audio comes through well. I like it.
Yeah, this is good.
I guess he's busy, but I should say to those who are on the chat right now, and if you're in the Discord group, if you're not, join the Discord group. It's getting kind of, I like it because it's coming to a place where there's a lot more conversations happening, and there are a lot more interesting conversations. One of the things we're probably going to do is go back into it and reorganize the channels in Discord, and that would mean creating like categories and then subcategories. So maybe like one of the things that's come up that I didn't initially intend on it, but some people want to have those conversations, is like inter-Christian conversations, right? Like interdenominational conversations about the Eucharist and about, you know, various theological positions. So what I'll end up doing is probably create a channel that has sub-channel, like a theology channel that has sub-channels for people to have those conversations in a friendly manner. And then, you know, whatever, like the apologetic stuff can take on different forms. Like we can have a channel that deals with scientific stuff and things that deal with philosophical stuff or historical stuff. So we'll categorize them in ways where people can know, hey, if I go here, I'm going to get this kind of content. If I go here, I'm going to get that kind of content, just to make it more manageable and also easier for people to access information that they're interested in, rather than having to scroll through a million things to come across something that they might be interested in. I think that's a decent idea. Oh, I moved that.
Yeah. And you don't know how these things are going to take off. Like your Armenian channel, you didn't know how that was going to go.
Yeah, yeah, that's the thing, right? Like you really have no idea. And then all of a sudden, I was telling my buddy yesterday, I said, we don't have a lot of members in there right now. I think we're like close to 70 members. And there's already times where I go in there and I'm like, oh, what's going on? It's just too much for me to like kind of keep up with. But like, what would it be like having like 800 people in there?
Wow.
Yeah. And I mean, there are channels like that. There are like some insane Discord channels. But yeah, for me personally, that's partly why we're going to need mods and we're going to need people to manage sort of. I think one of the things we'll probably end up doing is create a like a rules page that people have to adhere to when they sign up. It'll be the first thing they see. That's pretty common.
That's a good idea.
That's pretty common. And so when people step out of line, then we know we can say, hey.
Can you see my camera, Arthur?
What was that? Oh, I can
you see my camera?
I can see you, yes. Nobody else can.
I think that's Keanu.
Hey, that's cool.
Sunglasses on.
He's getting. Oh no, that's Taylor.
Yes,
all right, I got it.
Here, let me.
I thought somebody else did.
I'll turn my camera. There we are. Hello. This is a side.
Taylor,
I'm sweet.
He's ready for the zombie apocalypse.
I like it, man.
What kind of body armor do you have?
I don't have body armor.
Oh man.
I got my dad bought as a body armor.
How do you survive when people shoot at you?
They don't. Not just yet.
Not yet.
Once they do, then we'll deal with it.
He said two.
She is
Can you
my
say Arthur?
She's my daughter's age.
No. That's a hard name.
It's got a bald head, huh?
Yeah, bald
like your
head.
grandpa.
Yeah, it's shiny.
That gives my grandpa.
I like your sunglasses.
I'm not bald yet, huh?
Nope. Not either.
I have an earbud in, so she can't hear you.
Oh, okay.
He said he likes your sunglasses.
Hey, he's not the only bald guy in here, so just saying.
That's true.
I didn't see him. Oh.
I'm gonna try to face that way so I look at the camera. I feel like I'm.
So this is my body armor, though.
That's cool. I like it.
riding it.
Thank you. I can't die from bullets because I have this.
Yeah, you just wear it around the house, just to have a heavy pack to carry around.
Nobody. Excuse
It's not that heavy. It's ceramic plate.
Okay.
No.
What part of the country are you at? Are you in Taylor? Where you at?
Indiana.
He's in a place where it's normal for people to wear body armor.
Yeah, you don't. If you look like that in New Jersey and New York,
Or California.
or California,
On the Hoosier National Forest, but there's a lot of it. So, you got a frisbee? Throw it. Nice.
Plus, you don't get backyards
You don't
like that
need
in New
them?
Jersey and New York and California.
I need mine because they're cool.
Yeah. Ready?
That's my front yard. The backyard is all a forest.
Enough said. I visited some. It's funny. I visited some friends in Philly,
We got a big. Yeah.
and they
Go
had
ahead, sorry.
they had like a zip line in their backyard. It was really cool. Your grandkids would like zip line down in the backyard. I was like, dude, that is phenomenal. That's the way you get me to move out here.
We live like in a. It's called a. Yeah, your frisbee's ripping, isn't
Yeah.
it?
You get new
I think
ones.
the geological term is a karst plateau or something like that, but it's an area where there's a lot of old limestone and there's caves all over the place. Actually, I have a 9 or 10 foot sinkhole up that way in the woods up behind my garage that I think there might be a cave under there, but it's still a bunch of dirt and rocks. So
Bro,
if there
like
is a cave, it hasn't opened up yet. What are you doing? You okay?
you say that, and you know what I'm thinking
Careful.
immediately?
That scratchy. No.
What?
Batman. Like that's a bat cave right there, dude. Like you build the thing in there. That's what I'm thinking.
I don't know. You probably can't see it from here. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but I'll try to show it.
This
right
is how
across the road.
This is how a superhero was
here.
born. Sinkhole fell into it. It's a bat cave now.
There's a cave entrance right. Well, there's kind of like too many trees in the way. It's all right, buddy.
How big is your
Just
thing?
over here for a sec.
How many acres is your property?
My property is 5 acres.
Nice.
Man, you can't.
Generally speaking, a property like that in Indiana, how much would the cost be?
I don't know. Like, you trying to get me to flex a bunch or something?
No. I just want to compare it to California. Like, a little hut is worth
I'm
like
just playing.
$1 million bucks in LA.
Probably way cheaper than California.
I just want to know. Here's what I want to know. I want to know if I were to sell my house and move to Indiana, what kind of a property I'd be able to buy.
A third of that, probably.
Okay. So I can sell my house and buy cash like 4 acres.
Like a third of that, probably.
Yeah, we got other people that are joining us in the Discord chat. But we got
probably.
somebody who, for some awkward reason, has a Chelsea logo on. I don't know who that is, but you better be careful there. And then we got Pikachu, who's joining us from Japan, I guess.
Some kind of weird Pikachu fetish person. Here.
Yeah, dude, that's weird. Like, you're a grown man. I don't know what's up with Pikachu. Hey, I know. That's what my guess was. The British flag kind of threw me off on that Chelsea logo. I didn't know you have Discord. Koch, why don't you talk? Let's see if we can hear you. He turned himself off.
Wonder how this will be if like we're all off of our mute. If how this kind of
you don't have to be on mute. It just automatically mutes you, I think, when you don't talk.
Okay.
I think.
I'm interested to see if we have.
As far as I know, Discord does not mute you.
So
you don't talk.
I think there's an option in there that we can put it like push to talk, where you have to like click to talk like a walkie-talkie. But I don't like that option, and you can pick that, I think. Okay, somebody's asking here, Kobe Lovan. I think I'm saying that right. Forgive me. Thoughts on the doctrine of entire sanctification? By that, if you mean, Kobe, that do I believe if somebody could be entirely sinless? I do not. But I would go along with folks like a John Wesley or a Dallas Willard by saying, well, I'm not going to really worry about that. I'm going to try to live the best that I can in regards to my sanctification today. And if I do well today and I don't sin, that's cool. We'll start again tomorrow. But that would be my thoughts on that subject. Unless you mean something else.
I had a conversation the other day that I found very interesting. Mm-hmm. Maybe this kind of ties in, and I didn't necessarily agree with the view, but the view was like if you premeditated sin and then did it, like you weren't even saved. As opposed to like, okay, we're in this flesh.
Who said that?
We sin. Yeah, it was. Oh my goodness, I have to think back. It was just like maybe a few days ago. Oh man, I hate putting names out there and get it wrong.
Don't. If you don't need to, don't.
I'm not. No, I'm not. If I say the name, you're gonna know.
Yeah. Okay. Right? So my response to that generally would be that's just not true, because it seems to me that all sin is premeditated sin. The longer you're a Christian, or I would say most sin is premeditated sin. The longer you're a Christian, the more your sins are premeditated. And I don't think the Bible passages. I'm pretty sure I know the Bible passages that they would quote to try to back that up. Probably out of Hebrews,
right?
One or two passages, and I think they're not fully understood and explained in that sense. To say that somebody's not saved at all because they premeditated a sin and did it, I just think that's nonsense.
I agree with that.
But yeah, I can see why people do say that. I just think they don't, theologically, I think it's like, who agrees with you? And I'm not trying to say that as like, because a vast majority of people, that's not an appeal to authority or anything like that. Just the reality is like, if you realize that for the past 2,000 years, most folks have not taken a position like that, you might want to reconsider your position.
Yeah, and I don't like those conversations of defining a person being saved or not, other than what Jesus describes it. Outside of that, I think it's dangerous. I think it's dangerous to say if a person's saved or not. And then obviously we have the thief on the cross for those that want to argue about people being in sin and kind of these deathbed confessions. The thief on the cross gives us that example of being able, living a life of sin, but yet Jesus gives, because of his grace and mercy, opportunity even to the last breath. And so I tend to stay away also from trying to make those kind of judgments. But yeah, I agree with you. But I found that interesting. And a lot of people were even agreeing with that side of that this kind of premeditated sin, and then saying that the person is now not saved. So these conversations are very, I don't know. It's a lot of this happening out there, and it's like, Lord, where is like right doctrine and what are people believing today, it's dangerous territory.
Look, David, one of the things that the internet has done is probably brought into the fray, right? It's brought a bunch of people into the conversation who are theologically extremely immature, who read this and that and then think they're experts, right? And then like start commenting and start believing things because they heard this from this person and it just sounded right, because they only heard one side of the story. And then when you bring in individuals from the different side and they explain it, you see these individuals get really confused now, and they go, "Oh, then we can't believe anything because it's really confusing because there's another side to the story." It's like, well, of course there's another side to the story. And I always go back to that proverb that says, one way seems right to a man when until the second side is presented. I'm paraphrasing there. But that's just generally whenever those kind of very fringe kind of beliefs come into the conversation, and they're fringe. Historically, they're fringe beliefs. And they've become popularized by various groups of people, or they follow some channel on YouTube or something like that. My idea there would be to bring it into a balance and have a decent conversation about it. So Kobe defined his term. He says, a second work of grace where the sin nature is eradicated. No, I don't believe that. I don't think that's going to happen, Kobe, until glorification. Simple as that. And then Paul Gonzalez says, KJV 16:11, 2 Timothy 2:15, with a bunch of emojis. Paul, I don't even know what that means, man. Like,
Paul, you came out swinging, huh?
Yeah, again, like, what are you trying to say? Okay, I'll put it up second. It has to be in the King James, or else it's not the Word of God. That's just always funny to me.
Which is just another translation with its own kind of issues. That's all it is.
Okay, here I'll pull it up on the screen just so I don't get accused of, I pulled it up on the screen and my face is covered. That means we gotta change the spot. Second Timothy 2:15. Do your best to present yourself to God as one approved, a worker who has no need to be ashamed, rightly handling the word of truth. Amen. But I guess that doesn't count. I have to read that in the King James. But 16:11. Because nothing else counts, I guess. How about I read it in the Armenian or something? I'm just going to not. I prefer not to. Yeah, look, Paul, if you have anything to say that's worth kind of a conversation instead of just quoting a Bible verse, that's like me saying, I don't know, Psalm 132:5. It's like, and then what? Then, like, contribute to the conversation, right? We'd appreciate that. But this is partly, David, this is partly the issue. I think when I pay attention to just like generally YouTube, and I try to be as reasonable and nice as possible when it comes to my channel, but I think there's other channels now, other people that actually take advantage of the ignorance of people, and they lead them in directions. I'm not going to name names there, but they lead them in directions that are extremely incorrect. And when I look at it, I go, man, like theologically, what you are doing and the stuff you're saying, people don't know about, and you're not educating them to know about it, or the stuff you're saying is just wrong and is denied by people, but you're proposing it as truth or somehow as like established like common sense theology that everybody holds to. And yeah, so I have issues with that. And Jerome said that's a perfect example of text speech is bad, by the way. Thank you. Yeah, that would be. KJV 16:11, fire, sword, thinking emoji guy. 2 Timothy 2:15, fire, sword, thinking emoji guy, fire, sword, sword for fire.
Fire.
So there's a Discord conversation that's going to happen. I noticed that there was a event planned. I didn't know you can plan events on Discord, but I think there's an event planned. Yeah, there you go, on the Atheist Helpline, and there's 5 people that are interested in it. I think Jason put that together.
Not to interrupt.
No, that's fine.
For one, I think David asked me a question earlier, and I was going to ask him to repeat the question because I don't think I answered it.
Yeah, just in regards to just Christ, just Jesus, making that decision for the Lord. What would stop you, or what's stopping you from making that decision, or where are you at in that process? Even with these conversations that we have, even being on the channel.
Well, I hope this isn't like really annoying, but
I don't know if you heard me or not.
I want to like clarify. I want to clarify exactly what you mean. Like what choice, or are you not hearing me?
I can hear you fine. Yeah, I can hear you fine. I think it was him that was...
Okay.
He might be having some internet issues. He's going to reconnect.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
I can, yes.
Okay. I was just saying that I hope this isn't annoying, but I want to really clarify exactly what you mean by, like, what sort of choice are you talking about when you ask, like, what's holding me back from it?
Okay, so most of our discussions, we're discussing obviously all kind of social issues, but obviously the motivation as a believer is you want others to come to the saving knowledge of Christ, of Jesus. That's like the Great Commission. And we do that, we present the gospel in different ways. On this channel, it's obvious how it's kind of done. And there has been a draw from people as yourself or others that don't believe, and you're here. And the desire would be for a believer is for another person to also believe, to accept Jesus, to come to know the gospel. So I guess making that decision for Christ, wanting him to be Lord of your life, the things that we've spoken about online, where are you at in that process, if at all?
I just don't think it's true, and I don't know how to, like, for one thing, I don't think that I can just like choose to believe something. But I don't really know. I'm not sure that there is like some clear reason. I think probably my answer is just going to be mostly dissatisfying to you.
But
because I just
can I ask you a clarifying question?
I don't feel like I have any reason to believe it's true. Yeah.
What do you mean that you don't think you can choose to believe stuff?
Well, if you don't think something's true, you can't just like force yourself to believe it, right?
Correct, but what about when
That's
you
basically
think
what I
something
mean, I
is
think.
true?
What do you mean? What about
Well,
it?
the opposite of that. You use the negative immediately. I'm talking about using a positive case for believing in whatever it may be. Like, do you choose to believe that a proposition X is true or false?
No, I don't think so.
So how does that happen? You're
I
like,
don't
you're
think I do.
predetermined to believe it?
Not necessarily.
So how
Maybe.
how
I
do
don't
your
know.
beliefs develop?
A lot of them come from socialization, I think. I think there's some stuff that, like, I guess you could say that in some sense, like, our brains just do particular things.
Are you responsible
But I
over
think a lot of
holding?
it
Okay,
is
so
like
let me put it this way: are you like responsible or even morally responsible over holding false or true beliefs? Say you're a racist. Let's
Am
just
I
say like
morally
yeah. So
responsible?
yeah, let me give you a concrete example. Say I believe that me as an Armenian, I am better than all other ethnicities. And that's what like I was socialized into. Like my parents taught me that, my grandparents taught me that, like everybody around me, we just live in like a racist whatever society. I should I be held morally responsible over my beliefs? But by the way, beliefs lead to actions almost always.
According to me, yes.
So how if I don't have a choice in the matter?
Just because I think of those sort of things as like in terms of stances, and I would just say that I have a stance against that sort of stance.
But you didn't have a choice in the matter.
And I don't
Like
think
you
it
were
really
just.
needs any more explanation.
But it does, because then my response would be that you were just programmed or socialized into believing that I'm wrong.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah, so then you can't take a moral.
Socialized into different goals.
Correct, but if you take a morally, let's say you take a moral stance against what my belief is, I would argue that you don't have a right to do that.
Yeah.
You can't.
You might argue that, but
no, I just say you can't say racism is wrong.
Why?
Because you're socialized into believing you're socialized into believing that it's wrong, but it's not really wrong. It's relativism. What you believe is relative. It's social relativism.
What does it mean for something to be really wrong, though?
I don't know. You're the one who thinks racism is wrong.
Yeah, but I think it's wrong according to my stance that I have against racism.
Yeah, so you think that you wouldn't do it, you wouldn't like doing it. It's not advantageous or something like that. So if any one of those conditions were met for me, say it was advantageous for me, then you wouldn't really be able to say whatever it is that I believe is wrong.
Well, what do you mean useful?
That was just an example. Like useful, like I enslave another populace and make them work for me for free. and so therefore I get richer because I don't have to pay anyone.
Yeah.
So that would be more
I would
useful
still
to
think
me.
that that's wrong according to my stance.
Correct, but that's all it is. It's just your opinions. It's your stance.
Mm-hmm. What
Do
does
you let me ask you this
I guess
question.
my
I guess let me
question to you
hang on.
would
Let me.
be,
This might be a bit more kind of
you want to
fun.
say that? Okay, go ahead.
Do you have issues with the way God does things, or the way that the Bible presents God doing things in the Old Testament, specifically through the Jews and the way they treat their neighbors?
Well, this is probably going to be annoying again, but I want to clarify, like, what do you mean by do I have issues with it?
Do you think it's wrong what the Israelites do to the Canaanites?
Mm. There could be a lot of context missing, but in general, I would say that, like, genocide is bad according to my stances. And if that is, assuming that is what they were doing, which I would guess that you would say, no, it wasn't genocide.
Let's just say I granted to you that it was genocide.
Mm-hmm.
Like I gave it to you. I go, cool, Taylor, it's genocide. Do you think it's wrong? Do you think genocide is wrong?
Yes, according to my I have a stance against genocide. I think
And what makes it so wrong?
What makes it wrong according to my stance?
Correct. Yes.
Is my stance.
No, that's not enough. Your stance needs to have reasons.
Well, okay, so I would say that there's reasons, but the reasons for my stances are basically just like attitudes, commitments, and goals.
Okay. But they need to have reasons.
Well, there's like by reasons, do you mean like explanations?
No, I mean reasons. An explanation could be I guess an explanation could be a part of that. Sure. An explanation could be a part of it.
Well, are you saying it needs a particular kind of reason or explanation?
I suppose so. So if I were to talk to a Kantian, they would say, based on reason itself, we can deduce that something like a genocide is wrong. And then they'd give me the reasons as to why that's the case. Typically, when I talk to people, they tend to be more utilitarian in their thinking. And then they talk about how something like a genocide is disadvantageous to human flourishing and human evolution and X, Y, and Z, and that's what makes it wrong. I want to know, I mean, you told me what your stance is. You think it's wrong. I want to know the reasons for your stance. And it's not enough to say, well, the reason for my stance is because I was taught this. The best that gets you is a stalemate against someone who says the reason for my stance opposite to your stance is because I was taught this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say the reason or explanation is also not going to be very satisfying because it's just that
Just tell me what it is.
basically I would just describe it as a combination of biology and socialization.
Okay, so where in biology do we get a standard that tells us we shouldn't be committing genocide?
In my worldview, I don't know.
What is your
But I
worldview?
think in your worldview, there is one.
No, forget. What is your worldview? Like that's a big question. That's a big thing you just threw in there.
I don't even know, really.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay, so biology. Okay, cool. Like, what about it?
I really don't know.
By the way, I can argue that genocide is completely fine, evolution, from the perspective of evolution.
You need to go inside, bud? Okay, let me get your shoes. Sorry, what was the question? Well, hold on. I wanted to ask something, though. Basically, are you okay, bud?
I guess I'll have to correct me if
Okay.
it's Taylor.
Basically, I just wanted to ask real quick.
Okay.
If you can think of something that was like, let's say the objective truth, like stance-independent truth about what was morally correct to do, like morally good, was, hold on a second, I'm going to wait till my daughter shuts the door. But let's say it's something that's just like horrendous, that you definitely think is wrong. But we somehow, hypothetically, we find out that this horrendous, awful thing that you and I both agree is not good. Like, let's say we both have a stance against it. Okay, sorry, we spun around on the swing too much, and my daughter is throwing up right now. So,
I'll take care of that.
Man, it's an exciting day.
Arthur, if I could just ask you, I was trying to explain to Taylor, and correct me if I'm wrong. You're trying to get him to think deeper than just I feel something. I feel this way. I feel that way. You're causing him to dig a little deeper, correct?
Yeah, I mean the issue that I have when it comes to some of this stuff, Dave, is that we as Christians get accused of being emotional, that we're not rational. The rationalists are the more like unbelieving atheist type or something like that, or we're not as empirical or something like that. And I don't mind those conversations, and that might be true of quite a bit of Christians. But when we start digging and start asking questions like this is the sort of stuff I'm really, really interested in. Because you're making claims that are very, what's the best way to put it? Extremely important, like defining claims. Okay, when I say you, I don't mean Taylor specifically. I mean anyone in general. And as a Christian, my response is, wait, hang on. Like, I can very easily say, let's just say my response was, well, I think genocide is wrong because God says so. Because God says murder is wrong. And now I have an internal justification as to why I think genocide is wrong. Internal to the Christian worldview. Now, somebody can come to me and say, well, based on that command and these actions in the Old Testament, there seems to be a conflict within your internal worldview of people's actions and then what the moral, and that's fine. That's a fair criticism. And then we can speak about what that internally looks like. That still doesn't tell me that I should abandon my view and hold to theirs.
Correct. That's right.
Right. Whatever their view is. So for me, I want to know when somebody makes those sort of lofty statements like genocide is wrong. I want to know what their justifications are. And they can't be where this is what I was socialized into. Because you could potentially be socialized into the complete opposite of that. And that wouldn't make it right, unless you're willing to bite the bullet and just become a full-on relativist and say, yeah, you know, I can't really say that's wrong. Rape and genocide could be completely fine.
No. Arthur, I think you might be misunderstanding me. 'Cause
Okay.
when I say something is wrong, like I'm not saying that it's wrong objectively, or that there are moral facts that we can discover. And that's what I was getting at, like with the hypothetical. Like if you found out that like child murder is objectively good, let's say we found out some fact about reality, just hypothetically, I know you don't think that that's true or possible even, but just imagine that like murdering children in cold blood without what you now consider a morally sufficient reason. I know it's kind of like weird to think about it that way, but let's say there was an objective fact that brutally murdering children was morally good. Would you then think that you are obligated to believe that it's morally good to brutally murder children?
You realize you're being redundant in your example, right? What you're doing is called a truism, right? It's like an axiological truth. You're saying, if you found out the sky was blue, and it was blue, would you believe it was blue? You're not making an argument.
So then you would think that child murder is good.
You're not making an argument.
If you found out somehow hypothetically that was an objective fact about reality.
So again, you're not making an argument. You're just you're positioning the question in such a way where the conclusion is implied in the question.
I'm not making an argument. I'm asking you a question.
It's not a good question. It's not a valid question.
Well, but Arthur, that's what I'm saying whenever you ask me questions about this subject.
So how is that the same? What I'm saying is you already believe that, right? Unless you don't. Unless you don't think genocide is wrong.
Believe what?
So okay, there's three positions you can take epistemically on any proposition. Say the proposition that water is wet. You can either believe it, okay? You can disbelieve it, or you can be some kind of an agnostic on it, pending whatever X, Y, and Z evidence is. And assuming we know what wetness is like, and then we know what water is like. So those things would be the case. The same goes for any moral claim. Say the moral claim that murder is wrong. By murder, we mean the unjustifiable killing of another person. And you say, yes, I believe that to be true. Now you've taken a positive epistemic view of that moral claim. Or you can take a negative one. You can say, no, I don't think that's true. Disbelieving it.
But what does it mean for something to be unjustified, though?
What does it mean for something?
Isn't the justification stance dependent?
No.
What you take to be,
no, your stance is your
justification.
No.
Or how to distinguish between murder and just killing that's justified is a stance about what justifies it and makes it not murder.
I think you are confused about the way you do your epistemology. And I think you're confusing the stances you take, meaning the epistemic attitude you have towards something.
Might be.
Yeah, I'm just saying, so you can have an epistemic attitude towards something, like it or dislike it, versus thinking that something is true or false. So I'm not concerned much. No, I'm not concerned very much as to whether somebody likes or dislikes a certain position. There might be many things that I dislike, so my attitude towards it might be that I dislike it, but I think it's true. And so therefore I believe it to be true. But my attitude towards it might not be very,
Okay. What I think I'm trying to say is that I don't understand what it means for there to be a stance independent moral fact. Like, what does it mean for murder to be objectively wrong?
Yeah, I understand why you don't believe that. That makes sense to me because you don't, number one, you don't believe in higher moral principles, nor do you believe in higher moral beings.
I'm not just saying I don't believe it. I'm saying it doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand what it means.
Arthur, can I say a couple things?
Yeah, that's fine. Hey, why don't you guys, sorry, but I'm going to step away a little bit because I want to go get some hot water for my mate. You guys can continue having the conversation, and then I'll be back. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm sorry. Was your name Taylor?
Yes. Whoever just asked the question, that's Taylor.
Yep.
Who's just talking?
Yeah. If I can just say a couple things because I feel like Arthur and Taylor are talking past each other. So, when we say objective moral standards or an objective moral stance, right? What we're talking about is, for example, if let's just say Hitler won the World War and everybody believed that killing Jews was okay, that it was morally right to kill Jews, right? If everybody believed that. When it's objectively wrong to kill Jews, that would be, regardless of whether or not people believe it's wrong, the vast majority of people on earth can believe it's right, but it is not morally, it's not objectively right. So when it's objectively wrong, it's outside. You could say it's transcendent, right? It's outside of us. There's a moral law or a right and wrong that's outside of us. It isn't my opinion or your opinion. An objective morals are right or wrong regardless of whether or not people believe them. Does that make more sense?
I think I still don't know what it means. Does that mean that, like,
I mean, it's wrong whether or not you believe it.
Yeah, I don't. Sure.
Because
so then what happens if I don't believe it?
Well, it's just your opinion versus my opinion, and then whoever has the bigger guns wins at the end of the day. If I had a giant army that took over the world and said,
isn't that how it is either way?
Yeah, but it's like for laws and stuff, but there's still an objective standard. There's an outside of human beings. There's a standard that there is a right and there is a wrong, or else you can't say anything is wrong. It's just your opinion versus my opinion. So if you're going to be logically consistent, you have to say that, yeah, moral values are relative, and it's just your opinion versus my opinion. There's nothing objectively, really wrong. It's just my opinion versus your opinion. When people die or get raped or
what if only one person in the world held the correct, like, objective, true fact, and like everybody else was wrong? Then what would be different?
It isn't what would be different in the world. This is a philosophical concept. It's not a physical thing. Is it truly wrong? Is it morally wrong? By the way, from the Christian worldview, these morals are written on our hearts. We know what is wrong and what is right. and we're not saying that people who aren't Christians don't know that. Christians know that. I mean, non-Christians know that too. It's written on everybody's heart. What we're trying to find out is why are these general moral things really wrong? Where Christians have something Arthur mentioned earlier, justification for those moral values. You know, we have a reason. We have a transcendent foundation for why we can say something is wrong or something is right. Where someone who doesn't believe in God, for example, and I've been looking for it and I can't find it. It's what it boils down to is my opinion versus your opinion. As a society, we believe whatever we believe abortion is right. For example, as a society, we believe it's right. Therefore, it is morally right. When objectively, I would say it's morally wrong. You know what I mean?
So, how do you know what's objectively right or wrong?
Well, because I have a transcendent anchor, right? I don't know if you guys talked about the youthful dilemma yet, but what is good is what flows out from God. It's not not him just arbitrarily deciding this is right or wrong. Goodness flows from his character. So whatever is in line with God's character is morally right. Whatever is not in line with his character is morally wrong. How do we know his character? He revealed himself to us through the Bible, the scriptures.
Yes. Yes.
So we have a standard for saying whether something is wrong, right or wrong.
And just I guess for the chat's sake, do you care to say who you are, or you want to just keep it as what it says your name is, just so we know who's talking? I guess.
Are you talking about me?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm Glock91 on YouTube. I'm Carl. My name's Carl. If you guys I've been on the show before through E.
Cool. All right. I'm sorry. So we got Carl, we got Taylor, and obviously Carl, you're a Christian, obviously.
Right.
Taylor, does that make sense to you what Carl just said? Because it's being broken down in a very clear way, I guess, to say it. But is it clear to you?
I mean, I understand the words that are being said, but it doesn't make sense to me how something.
What part of it doesn't make sense though? Like
can
where
be
is
like stance independently wrong? I don't know what that means.
Yeah, but if there's something wrong with what I'm saying, can you tell me what the flaw is in my thinking? Like what's wrong with what I said? Like what doesn't make sense specifically?
Well, you said regardless of what anyone thinks, like X is wrong, right?
Okay, you're right. I agree.
I think I don't understand how to separate like the concept of values and goals, and that's how I think about what's right and wrong. I don't know how to separate that from stances.
I mean, when you say stance, you mean like my position is this, that, for example, murder is wrong? Is that what you mean by stance?
Well, so murder is sort of a weird term because, like what I was saying to Arthur, the term murder is generally defined as like unjustified killing. But if a killing is justified, then it's not even considered murder.
Right. But if someone's trying to kill me and I kill them, It's not murder.
I understand that concept in terms of stances, because people are going to have like different. Yeah, I would agree with that, but people are going to have like different stances about what justifies murder in their view. And I'm not saying like one person is right or wrong. I think a lot of people, given that they're socialized in the same ways, tend to have similar stances. So we might agree on what does or doesn't justify a killing. But I don't think it's some essence of goodness and badness that's completely independent of our stances that like makes it true, whether or not a particular killing is good or bad.
From your perspective, isn't it kind of odd that, generally speaking, humans agree on what is right and wrong?
Let's assume that is true. I think there's some things that we do and a lot of things we don't. But even if we did like all completely agree, I don't think that would be surprising.
I mean, from the Christian worldview, we have a reason for that. You know, we have justification. We can explain why it is that the vast majority of humans have that sense of right and wrong, have that sense of morality. Where from the non-theistic perspective, I don't know, how you can justify that. So would you agree with the statement at the end of the day?
Yeah,
it's just my opinion versus your opinion.
I don't think it really needs to be justified. I don't know that I have to know like exactly what explains it, because I think just saying that like we have stances is good enough.
Yeah, but what makes your stance better than my stance? Like, why should people follow your stance and not mine?
What do you mean by better? My stance is better to me because it's my stance. If someone conflicts with it, like I have a stance against like someone coming in my house and like stealing things from me. So if they did that, I would try to stop them.
Okay, what if
like,
the whole
if
world
they could just
what if the whole world believed it was
me and take my things, then it wouldn't really matter what I think.
Yeah, but what if the whole world believed that it was morally right to break into your house and steal your stuff? Would that make it morally right, or would it still be wrong?
I would still have a stance against that.
Right, but what
No,
would
you
make
wouldn't.
your stance
Sorry. No, you wouldn't.
Our stance?
I'm sorry, you wouldn't. Your entire structure is built on you being socialized into it. If you're socialized into it, you wouldn't.
It's not just like who I am now. If I'm thinking about it from who I am now, you're saying if I was
who you are now is a result
into that
of your family, is a result of culture. And I would actually argue a lot of the moral stuff you have is a result of Christian influence on society that you think ought to be the case, when very clearly, historically, it hasn't always been the case. I think the data on that is very clear, that different societies, either even what we consider Western societies, or like as a result of like Roman stuff, Greco-Roman culture didn't have the same values you and I have. So if the Greco-Roman individual, philosopher, let me actually put you against Aristotle. Aristotle believed that there was a class of people who were born to be workers, and that's it. They shouldn't have a right to vote. They shouldn't be involved in politics because they're not smart enough to be in politics. They are a class of slaves because that's the way nature intended them to be. This is Aristotle's philosophy on the way society, or it's a part of Aristotle's philosophy, on the way society should be designed. And he believed that this was designed by nature. There was a telos to this. There was an end goal to this. And a part of it was you get philosopher kings at the top. You get these really rational, reasonable individuals that are leading. They're the kings and the monarchs. And then to make that possible, you have an entire class of slaves. Would you think he's right or wrong? And why wouldn't you be socialized into it? Why wouldn't you believe that?
Actually, sorry, Arthur, to interrupt.
That's okay.
I have to duck and dodge the question because I'm getting owned too badly and don't know what's right and wrong. I'm just kidding, actually.
Yeah, I thought you had to leave because of your kids. I was like, sure, yeah.
Mad at me if I don't.
Yeah, that's fine. I assumed it had something to do with the kids. That's fine. I mean, we'll continue that conversation because I think
maybe we can talk about it more another time.
I think so. I think that's
it was good talking to you guys.
You too, man.
That was frustrating.
Thanks for no. This is good.
Thank you, Taylor.
Yeah. Same here, Taylor. Take care, man.
So I think, guys, I think Carl's still in here. Carl. So it's very interesting to me that quite often we, as Western influenced thinkers and people, forget that not everyone in the world agrees with our reasons. Not everyone in the world agrees with our conclusions. So let's just put it this way: if I'm speaking to an Indian fella, Indian from India, and they believe in the caste system, and they think it's like really evil for you to marry outside of your caste because of the karmic system and all the reasoning they give to me. And I look at that as a Western and I go, no, but all people are made equal. And he looks at me and says, no, they're not. Like, people don't realize how much of that comes from a biblical Christian worldview. That they actually think all people are equal because society hasn't always believed that. We just run with it like, oh yeah, this is like so evident to people. It's not. And those are the things, like if we were sitting down having a conversation with Aristotle, and if Aristotle were to say the things that he says, we'd have a hard time with it. That's again, just, I would like to hear a response as to why I shouldn't agree with Aristotle. Okay.
And those are all good points, Arthur, because, I mean, for those on the chat also, like, this is not like people, we're not getting up like on Taylor. We're getting to the heart of our beliefs and where you get your ideas from, and we're getting to the heart of things and obviously making a compelling argument for Christ and where our beliefs and our anchor comes from. And these questions have to be answered, and I think they're fair questions.
Yeah, and I think we're fully in our right as Christians to demand for answers. And this is just because this is an apologetics channel. I would like to point this out, folks, that this is essentially the difference between apologetics and polemics. And that being that apologetics is giving a response or a reason for the stuff that you believe. And polemics is asking for others, essentially, to give a response and a reason for what they believe. And then looking for internal consistency, looking for things being true and the case, right? And whether we ought to believe that stuff or not.
Yeah. Yes.
I think we got, okay, was going to say, I think we got another caller, but then the caller dropped. Right now, as we speak, there is a stream going on Vocab Malone's channel that is a part of the interview that him and I did. I think he just premiered it with a bunch of like editing. So that's cool. Thanks, Vocab. Message him back. If you're going to shift the subject, guys, feel free to shift it. Christ is King is in the chat. Feel free to jump in, brother or sister.
Hello, Arthur.
Hello.
Who is Christ is King? Do you want to share your name or just keep it like that?
Yeah, my name is Danny.
Danny.
Yeah.
Okay.
Daniel. Yeah.
What's up, man?
Brother, nice to meet you.
Yeah. We were talking about alcohol last time, remember?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Let us. Feel free, lead it, man. Don't wait on me.
Okay. Yeah, so remember how I was saying in Proverbs, you said in Proverbs, I had said Proverbs 31:29, where, not 31:29, 29:31, where it says don't even look at the wine.
Say the verse because I want to pull it up on the screen for folks. Proverbs 21:39?
No, sorry, 23:31.
23:31. Okay.
Yeah.
Proverbs 23:31. Ladies and gentlemen, okay, let me just read it, okay? Do not look at wine when it is red, when it sparkles in the cup and goes down smoothly. In the end, it bites like a serpent and stings like an adder. Your eyes will see strange things. Your heart utter perverse things. You will be like one who lies down in the midst of the sea, like one who lies on the top of the mast. Okay.
Yeah, so it's saying don't even look at, like if I said don't even look at drugs because of what it can do. I'm not saying take drugs in moderation. I'm saying don't even look at it, don't even take it. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question first before we get into this. What do you think Proverbs are?
They're like, I don't know if I could say like it's like just things we should do in our life. I've never really thought about that. Like ideas of like things to command us to keep us in our way, maybe. I don't really know.
Okay, so Proverbs generally are general truths, but not completely always the case. Meaning they're not laws. There's a difference between Proverbs. They're not promises. That's actually they're culturally understood, wise statements.
Yeah, I see.
Like the nature of Proverbs matters very much as to how we're going to interpret anything we're going to look at within the book of Proverbs.
I see. Yeah.
So I would agree with this, but notice, by the way, notice what it's saying here. Like clearly, the example it's giving is a person who's intoxicated.
Yeah, but it's saying that if you drink wine, it's going to lead to intoxication.
It's not saying that. It's not saying if you drink wine.
Like if I said don't take any drugs or like don't even look at any drugs, why am I saying don't?
Yeah, again, I think linguistically you're missing a bunch of stuff here in regards to exaggeration, in regards to so I'll just give you an example of Jesus' statements. Okay?
Yeah, sure.
If your right eye causes you to sin, pluck it out. If your right hand causes you to sin, chop it off. It's better for you to enter eternal life without any of those than to go to hell with both of them. Why do you not put that into actual literal practice?
Well, because we know that we don't see that example anywhere else in the Bible. We can tell it's
No,
metaphor, right?
that's not why. Jesus said it.
Yeah.
That should be enough. You don't need another example of it. That's not the reason you don't do that. The reason you don't do that is because you understand that there's a sort of exaggeration that takes place within Scripture, that you can exaggerate to make a point, that you don't take it literally to be the case. I remember when I was a kid, if I would play with knives, and this is sort of an Armenian proverbial statement that my moms make regularly, is that don't play, here's a statement, and some of the Armenian folks in the chat might, and maybe other cultures have a similar thing to this, I'm not sure, maybe even the same. But the statement is, don't play with knives because there's blood in the knives. I'm literally translating it, right? Yeah. Is there blood in knives?
No, right?
You get the statement, right? Like you get the point. Knives will cut you, they're dangerous, you'll bleed, X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, of course.
But it's a proverb. That statement is a proverb.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's an exaggeration there, there's symbolism, there's all sorts of poetic usage within that proverb statement, as to teach your children not to play with knives because they don't know how to handle them. They're kids. When you're looking at proverbs like this, that's like I would say the proverb Jesus says, and that's a proverb too, that it's, chop your arm off and pluck your eye out, because he's over exaggerating to make a point. And I think the context here in regards to verse 31 matters, because this is it's not saying don't drink wine. It's generally telling you here are the dangers of alcohol consumption. And the example it gives you is an intoxicated individual or an individual who's gotten drunk off of it. It bites like a serpent, right? Like, so you're not expecting it and it immediately is going to get you.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of stuff I can say about what it's like getting drunk off of wine versus what it's like getting drunk off of other alcohol. Let me ask you this. So, have you ever been drunk?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so I've been drunk plenty of times. Before I was a Christian, I used to consume a fair amount of alcohol. Okay, and I was pretty young, so between like 15 and 18, I drank a lot of alcohol. And I've been drunk off of like tequila and vodka, and I've been drunk off of wine. Wine smashes you into the ground. Getting drunk off of wine is extremely unpredictable. Where with other alcohol, you kind of feel yourself getting drunk. Okay? You can feel yourself kind of getting... Wine, you could drink like 2 bottles and feel like you're completely fine, and stand up and it just immediately smashes into the ground and you're drunk. It's just the way. Mm-hmm. So again, knowing how wine kind of gets you drunk. When I read this passage, because I think a part of it is just experiential knowledge here, is that wine, do not look at wine when it's red, when it sparkles in the cup. And that's like, it's got this aspect of like temptation, right? It's sparkling, it looks good and stuff, and it goes down smoothly. And I'll tell you this, good aged wine goes down smoothly.
Yeah, I know.
And it says what? And in the end, it bites you like a serpent. It gets you quickly, and then it stings. And again, it's talking about intoxication after that. Your eyes will see strange things, because when you're drunk, you're not in the proper mindset. Your heart will utter perverse things, because when you're drunk, you say stupid stuff. You will be like one who lies down in the midst of the sea. That's exactly what being drunk feels like. You're not in control of your feet. Your limbs don't obey you. You're kind of wobbly and stuff like that. Like one who lies on the top of a mast. A mast there, by the way, has to do with a ship, right? Like movement and stuff like that. Like the wobbly nature of things. So the idea here is a fully intoxicated individual, and and because it's a proverb, it's a warning against getting drunk. It's a warning about alcohol in general, I would say. But it is not a teaching that you shouldn't get drunk. Why do I conclude that? Because proverbs are not teachings. Proverbs are proverbs. They're generally true statements. And I wouldn't have an issue disagreeing with this statement because I know this is exactly what wine does. And if people aren't careful, I would say this is exactly what wine would do to them. If they're not in control of themselves, this is exactly what wine would do to them. And they will get drunk, and they will get drunk without even realizing that they're getting drunk, maybe even accidentally get drunk. So they ought to be very careful, mindful, wise in the way they interact with alcohol. Again, the proverb stands true. I'm not denying the proverb. I'm actually understanding the proverb within its like linguistic context. Anytime we see a warning about alcohol in the Bible, the warning is that you can get drunk off of it and lose control and not be sober-minded. And I agree with that. Does that make sense? Like, I'm not advocating for people getting drunk.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, yeah. But I know you've said that, like, Jesus drank wine and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, throughout history, Christians have always drank wine, right? But I don't agree with that. I don't think throughout history, Christians have always drank wine for communion.
The historical record speaks for itself that they have.
Can I read to you? It's the Apocryphal Acts and Martyrdom of Matthew.
You can, but my response would be, do Jews drink wine?
Oh, yeah. So I read, I'll quote you later. Let me see if I can find the quote. It said that in the Jewish code, there is no preference for unfermented wine or fermented wine. And even.
And you're reading from what? Sorry, what are you reading from?
Let me actually find the quote. I'm sorry. I just had it with me right now. Let me see. Sorry about that. Yeah, so it's saying, let me see, it's Louis Ginsburg, distinguished Talmudic scholar. He said, it is thus seen that according to the views of the two most generally accepted Jewish codes, the Tur and the Shulchan Aruch, no precedence whatever is given to fermented over unfermented wine. It is not even a priority commandment to use fermented wine.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's what I was thinking, that there's no preference for either or, right? Like to say that Jews have always used fermented wine, or it's like an overwhelming thing. I don't think that's correct to say that Jews prefer fermented wine over unfermented wine.
No, I'm just saying they've used wine.
Yeah, but we can equally say that they've used unfermented wine.
They've probably will.
Daniel, what would be the point though? What would be the point of that? Just what are you trying to point out?
Since I know that many say that Jesus drank wine, I'm just saying, like, alcohol is not something I don't think Christians should ever drink.
Let me ask you a question. Actually, this is I think this pretty clearly says that Christians use. I'll actually say what you were going to read, and then I'll quote the actual passage to you.
Yeah. So it was from the Apocrypha. Actually, it's not like a Old Testament; it's a New Testament.
That's fine.
Yeah, from 100 or 200. So it said that bring as an offering the holy bread, and having pressed 3 clusters from the vine into a cup. So like, it's not saying that alcoholic wine, just like press the grapes into the cup, communicate with me, as the Lord Jesus showed us how to offer up when he rose from the dead on the 3rd day. So it's saying how the communion cup, it wasn't alcoholic wine, it was just like, at least in this example, it was just squeezing the grapes into the cup.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me read you a text here.
Yeah, sure.
This is out of 1 Corinthians 11, okay?
Yeah.
So Paul is giving, rebuking the Corinthian church as to how they're dealing with the communion table, correct?
Yeah.
I'll start with verse 17. But in the following instructions, I should pull this up for folks to read it, okay. But in the following instructions, I do not command you, because you come together. It is not for the better, but for the worse. For in the first place, when you come together as a church, I hear that there are divisions among you. And I believe it in part, for there must be factions among you in order that those who are genuine among you may be recognized. When you come together, it is not the Lord's Supper that you eat. For eating, each one goes ahead with his own meal. So they're not eating together. One goes hungry, so they're ignoring people who are hungry amongst themselves. Another gets drunk. So he's saying, what? Do you not have houses to eat and drink in? Or do you despise the church of God and humiliate those who have nothing? What shall I say to you? Shall I command you in this? No, I will not. Command you in this, not command. Command you in this. So, what are they getting drunk off of?
Yeah, so I actually had this conversation in Discord like a few weeks ago. So I said, what was the verse again? Yeah, I see.
It's 1 Corinthians 11, 17 to 22.
Yeah, so if you look at the Greek word, that word is metal, right, or something like that. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right.
Sorry, which Greek for what? Sorry.
The Greek word for drunken.
That you are drunk?
I think it was. Yeah, I think the Greek word was metio. Yeah. So.
No, hang on. Oh, that's drink. Let me pull it up on the screen here. Okay. And then?
Yeah, so in the Septuagint, in Psalms 23:5, where it says, my cup overflows, the Greek word is the same word, methuskon. So my view is that word wasn't talking about like being alcohol. It just means like filled to the brim, right? So I think this verse isn't talking about the word drunken doesn't necessarily have to do with alcohol, but probably like getting filled to the brim, like gluttony, right? Which is why he's saying you shouldn't do this stuff in the church. Go to your house and eat and drink however much you want.
Okay.
Yeah, so
that's fair. Okay.
I wrote. Yeah. Yeah, so I wrote that Paul was contrasting the hungry in verse 21 with the gluttonous in verse 21. Yeah.
Okay, that's fair, I think.
Like the word glutton. Sorry.
David, you kind of cut out, so we didn't hear what you said.
No, I wasn't even talking. I didn't want to jump in where you were at, Arthur. I'll let Arthur continue to look what he's looking at. I would just say this really quick, Daniel. So I'm very careful. We got to be very careful what we, let's say, call sin, and we have to make sure that measures up with what the Word of God is saying. In this regard, in regards to wine or alcohol, and we've had these conversations before. I take that position with you. I don't call it sin, but I would say it's not wise. I don't suggest people to drink. I don't drink. However, there's a conviction that I have as why not to do it for a bigger reason. But at the same time, I can't say that alcohol is sin, nor drinking is a sin, because the Bible speaks about being drunk is the sin. So that's the area that we have to be careful for, and that's what we're trying to define right now. But and I'll just say this last thing real quick. So for instance, my conviction of not doing it is in my ministry, it's a very visual pulpit type ministry. The standard for me is going to be to what much is given, much is required. So I don't want to have the appearance, I choose not to drink because I don't want to have the appearance of a person that might get drunk. So then I just stay away from that. And that would be the same for different people, different convictions. In regards to alcohol, though, I think the Word of God is very clear that the standard is not getting drunk. That would be the sin. That would be the transgression, but not just drinking. And I would say that in Jesus' time, it was a fermented wine. Arthur could correct me if I'm wrong. I think there was also an issue with the water there, issues with problems with the water. That is another reason why wine was was drank drunk.
By the way, fermentation is a perfectly natural part of what happens to grapes when you leave them. You have to go out of your way to stop fermentation.
Well, I was reading about the agriculturalists at that time, like Columella and Pliny, as we were talking about today. Actually said that if you just put like olive oil inside the grape juice, or you just put it inside a bottle with pitch and put it in ice, and sometimes they would even use grape juice to preserve fermented wine.
New wine, by the way, like newly fermenting wine, is very harsh. It'll actually get you drunk quite a bit. But let me say this: there's an assumption here that you're assuming they're not using, and I'll tell you why the translation I think is correct. Clearly the Bible translators disagree with you that they don't translate this as excess, but they translate it as drunk, as intoxicated.
No, but the word drunken doesn't necessarily mean intoxicated.
No, they could write in excess.
No, the English word drunken, if you go in the dictionary, let me see if I can find it. Drunken, it means saturated and drenched. You could say saturated, drenched. It doesn't necessarily mean alcohol.
Correct. You can use it very generally. Like you could be drunk with power. Intoxicated, it's overcome. It's the loss of control that drunkenness has built within it. Every time you're drunk with something, you're not in control.
Well, but like as I said, the word also can mean saturated and drenched.
And the assumption is that if it's alcoholic, overdoing it will get you drunk as well.
Yeah, I see what you mean, but I don't think there was any like anything in the context of 1 Corinthians 11 to suggest it was alcoholic wine or even wine being toxic.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be there. If it is that, why would they need to be contextually explaining to you and I in the 20 whatever century that, oh, this is just grape juice?
Well, that's how we would know what drunken means, right?
The Bible regularly teaches against drunkenness. So clearly they had alcohol.
But I don't see anywhere where I see condemnations of alcohol. I don't see anywhere where they actually drink fermented wine, right? Unless it's used in a negative sense, like Noah drinking it or something like that.
Okay, so there's alcohol that they're consuming and getting drunk off of, correct?
Yes.
Noah, X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Do not be drunk with wine, but with the Holy Spirit, right? Because you keep in line with the Holy Spirit. There's a contrast there of being overcome.
Of course.
There's right? Why does it, when it talks about elders and deacons and Titus and Timothy, it speaks that they shouldn't be drinkers of much wine? If it's unfermented wine we're talking about, who cares how much they consume it? Like how, if you drank 18 gallons of Welch's grape juice, would you get drunk?
Well, I remember that thing where it said, be not to be drunk with much wine. And I remember, if I can find the quote for you, how there would be, at those times, there would be like parties where people would drink grape juice until like unfermented grape juice until their stomachs would like be fully full. Like it was like on like gluttonous party, right?
Okay, let me. So you're bringing things into the context that's not there. Okay, so let me contextually argue for a point here. Titus 1. Okay, Titus 1:7. For an overseer as God's steward must be above reproach. He must not be arrogant, quick-tempered, a drunkard, or violent, or greedy for gain, but hospitable, lover of good, self-controlled, upright, holy, and disciplined. What in that context gives you the clue that a drunkard there is an individual that drinks so much grape juice where his stomach starts hurting? Look at all the qualifiers, right? Sorry, what was the question?
Titus 1:7.
Yeah, this is out of Titus chapter 1, verses 7 and on.
Yeah.
The context here has to be with being arrogant, so that's a personality trait, being an arrogant individual. being a quick-tempered individual or being a violent individual.
Yeah, I see. But it's the thing, like in Titus 1:8, the verse after, it says you have to be sober, right? So I think based on the context we can see, because I think do you think the Greek word for wine there always means fermented?
Sorry, say that again.
Do you think that's like, how to respond to? Do you think the Greek word used for wine is, I think, oinos? Do you think that always refers to fermented wine?
I'm not sure. I don't know whether I would say yes or no to that.
Oh, okay, yeah, because I would say that the context would determine.
Yeah, but even if it doesn't, that doesn't mean fermented wine.
Yeah, well, the opposite is true as well, right? You can't.
So, Danny, you have to get around like getting drunk with unfermented. If we're talking grape juice, you're not going to get drunk with that.
Ever. Like you might have some stomach issues, but you're never getting drunk off of it.
And there's distinctions in the word for that. There's a clear distinction where it speaks of drunkards, being drunk, and you're not going to do that with grape juice. I think you really can't get around that.
Yeah. Remember how we said that not given to much wine, where it would mean that, then we could have like little wine, right? I think that's what you guys are trying to say.
Well, literally, it says not given to too much wine. And the translator, let's just say in this case, the ESV, translated as a drunkard. So so the ESV translates it as a drunkard. The NET translates it as a drunkard. Okay, the CSB I pulled up the wrong thing. I'm trying to pull up different translations. Yeah. The King James actually translates it as given to wine. Okay. The Lexham English Bible translates it as addicted to wine.
Mm-hmm.
Like every single one of these translations has built within it. Here it is, the American Standard Bible, which is a literal translation, is addicted to wine. How do you get addicted to grape juice?
Oh, sorry, I think we're talking about something else. Yeah, so in this thing, it's talking about alcoholic wine, because in the next verse it says sober, right? Which means drink no wine.
No, being sober-minded doesn't necessarily mean drink no wine. Being sober doesn't mean don't drink any wine.
I remember we were talking about this Greek word. If you go, let me see if I can find the word. Yeah, so I think one of the definitions for the Greek word, I remember you pulled it up. One of the definitions for the word was drink no wine.
No, it given to too much wine is the way it was. My issue here is that, like, when did this conversation, like, historically become an issue for Christians?
Well, I believe that they didn't drink wine, the historic Christians.
You believe what?
If I remember, I studied that apocryphal book.
One apocryphal book. Okay, like in the 200s, 300s, there's churches being birthed everywhere. And we have historical records of these churches. Are they using fermented wine or not?
Yeah.
Why are they using it if it's so clear in the text and it's so clear given that very early church history stuff?
Well, just because they're called Christians doesn't mean they're necessarily Christian.
So that's a cop-out. Because that's that completely ignores that's an easy way to sidestep these people, call them non-Christians, and so you don't have to deal with it. Do you think Martin Luther was a Christian?
I don't think he did every single thing.
Do you think Martin Luther was a Christian?
I've never studied him fully to know for sure if he's a Christian.
So he brewed his own beer.
Mm-hmm.
Religious monks throughout Christian history have made their own wine and sold it. In all traditions, Catholics, non-Catholics, Eastern Orthodox, Oriental Orthodox, they've all used wine in their religious services, fermented wine.
Oh, so you would say the Catholic Church has never used like grape juice in their thing?
I didn't say that.
Oh, okay.
As far as I know, historically speaking, the Catholic Church has always used wine, fermented wine.
Well, Thomas Aquinas said that grape juice is perfectly fine. Like, he gives no preference either for grape juice or fermented juice. So I would say
correct. He wouldn't. That makes complete sense. I don't necessarily disagree with that.
Yeah.
But he's talking about communion and the different. So here's notice what Aquinas is battling with. Aquinas is essentially saying there are people in the church who say, no, it must be fermented, which means everybody's using fermented wine, alcoholic wine, which proves my case that the church has been using this. And Aquinas is saying, no, hang on, guys. Non-fermented wine is just as fine. Grape juice. As long as it's from the fruit of the vine, right? Is what his argument is essentially, as long as it's from grape, it's fine.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
But that assumes everyone's using. So I'll give you an example. I went to church this Sunday. This is not my my church. Went to a different church this Sunday. And for communion, they had communion this Sunday. For communion, they had wine and they had grape juice.
Yeah.
And they told the congregants, hey, this is on you. You make the decision as to why, what you want to drink and stuff like that. So clearly that church holds to, both being equal and fine. That was a Presbyterian church I went to. I don't think there's any issues with that. The question it comes down to is whether the Bible completely rejects or is against or calls drinking alcohol a sin.
I wouldn't say it's a sin. I'm sorry if I said that before, but I would say that whenever it says be sober and so like that, I would say that there's you shouldn't drink any wine. As I said in the historical, Cyprian, as I said, the Acts and Martyrdom of Matthew, the apocryphal books, I think we could validly say that historical.
Yeah. So here's my issue. Here's my issue. As much as I like the church fathers and I don't mind quoting from that stuff, those guys had extremist views that I balance out with the Word of God. So what if I quoted like a church father who made himself a eunuch? And I said, look, this church father is saying this about being single. And to battle your temptations, he made himself a eunuch. You wouldn't be okay with that.
No, I won't. But the thing with Cyprian, it wasn't just like his view. Like, he was battling with people how they would only use grape juice and they would not put water. You know how whenever Christ's side was pierced and the water and blood came out. So
yeah, well, I would say then he's turning something into a typology or a symbolism that shouldn't be the case.
Yeah, but what I was saying is the people he was battling with, it was not just him, people around him. I'm sure he's seen many people would say that they would only use grape juice, where he would say that you have to add water too. But it would be the thing they would use was grape juice, not wine.
Sorry, I'm not seeing what the point is that you're making.
Well, as back as early as we could go, I could say that one of the earliest records we have of communion, or two of the earliest records, one of the two of the earliest records we have of communion is grape juice, not alcoholic wine.
And when is that?
As I said, the Acts and Martyrdom of Matthew. Whenever.
Why do people accuse Jesus of being a drunkard?
Well, you know how John was a Nazarite, or Nazarene. I don't know which.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so according to the Jews, you couldn't even eat a grape, right? Not just one. You couldn't even eat a grape, a fresh grape.
Is that in the Bible, or is that according to some kind of a tradition?
No, it says if you go Numbers 6, was it number 6? Let me see. Numbers 6, 1 to 4. Yeah, saying, nor eat moist grapes or dry. In number 6, verse 3, it says, so you shall drink no wine no strong drink, nor vinegar of wine. So you can't eat anything related to grapes, not even grapes themselves, right?
Okay, okay. Drink any of the juice of grapes, eat grapes. So why does it distinguish between these things?
Well, first, I wouldn't say maybe you know how John was.
No. In the text, sorry, in number 6.
Oh yeah.
In number 6, it says, "He shall separate himself from wine."
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And strong drink. What is strong drink?
Like anything else that you could use, like date wine or something like that.
Anything intoxicating. Beer. It could be beer.
Yeah.
Okay. And then it says, "He shall also drink no vinegar made from wine." Right? Yeah. That's like new wine, by the way. Vinegar made from wine is like the new stuff, like you skim off and you use. Or strong drink. Okay. And or any grape juice or juices of grapes. So clearly in Moses' day, they had the ability to ferment and unferment, right? Like what you're talking about is, squeezing it into juice and then it so on and so forth. So I had the ability to do these things. That's just, I want to establish that they had alcohol back then. The argument that their wine wasn't alcoholic and stuff like that doesn't fly.
I've never said that.
I know. I'm just saying that in general.
Sure.
Okay, go ahead. Okay, so so John was a Nazirite. He took a Nazirite vow, you were saying? Okay.
Yeah. So you can't even eat, like, not even grapes.
Yeah, so they're saying John is demon possessed.
Yeah.
So, but they're saying Jesus is a drunkard.
Well, there's two things I would say about that. So the first thing is, just because they accuse him of something doesn't mean they're correct, right?
A drunkard and a libertine. Why would they accuse him of being a libertine? Just randomly accusing him?
Well, we're not allowed to be drunkards, right? So if Jesus was a drunkard...
I'm not saying Jesus was a drunkard. I'm just saying they're accusing him of things he's done. So, for example, when Jesus is not following the Sabbath the way they want the Sabbath to be followed, they call him a libertine.
Yeah.
But it's based on stuff Jesus is actually doing.
But
it's not a completely made up lie in the sense of like Jesus has never ever done that or anything close to it, because that would be easy to defeat, right? Like if you want a good lie, you want to base it on something that someone has done.
Mm-hmm.
So if Jesus' disciples, eat on a Sabbath, like the grain they eat, there's an example of them eating grain, and then they get accused for working on the Sabbath, and then Jesus, gives that whole teaching, then based on that, they would call him a libertine. Look, he's teaching his disciples not to follow the law.
Yeah.
And so I would parallel that and say, so why are they calling him a drunkard?
Well, just because they say something, as I said, doesn't mean it's correct. Right?
Yeah, so I would say you have a harder case to prove there than me. My case is more reasonable, and it would be more in line with the stuff happening in Jesus' life and how they're accusing him and what they're accusing him of.
But I could say they would make false accusations against him, right? Based on his social lifestyle, based on what he did, they could make false accusations on him, right?
Correct, you could.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is I just gave you an example of Jesus doing something with the law that we see in the text that people would be able to accuse him of being a libertine.
Yeah.
And he makes water, he makes wine from water. And people go, this is really good wine.
Well, I wouldn't say that would be alcoholic wine, because just from
that's a big assumption you're making, because it's a wedding and they had wine at weddings.
Alcoholic wine or grape juice?
No, alcoholic wine. How did they not have alcoholic wine when we get regular events of people getting drunk in weddings?
Like right now, or in the...
No, what in the ancient world, people didn't get drunk at weddings?
Well, remember, these are Jews, right? And If I could
So?
find the quote of one,
Who cares if they're Jews?
I could find a quote. I don't have it right now, but I'll get back to you probably tomorrow, where it said that there was a Jewish authority who said that there would be no alcoholic wine at Jewish weddings at all.
Wait, from when?
Like from the 1700s, 1800s.
Yeah, I just.
I would say, Daniel, for me, hearing you speak, it sounds more for me that you have a strong hard line on alcohol, as I do also, by the way, but that's influencing it's influencing what you feel, and you're looking for a biblical stance or reaching for something to back up what you feel, and your conviction. So where we have to just say is like, you know what? There was wine, it was fermented, people got drunk on that, yes. The Bible speaks about being a drunkard, being against that. So we're establishing certain things, but it seems to me that you're digging deeper to back up what your personal conviction has you feel. That's what it sounds like to me. So that's where we're going to be like at a standstill, because we have to come to an acceptance of certain facts and then go from there. And
Yeah.
it just seems to me that that's where we're at.
Yeah, and I would just say, like, historically speaking, when we see Christians doing something, it is not enough for us to sit there and say, well, we don't know if they were Christians or not. Especially if there's like they're extremely influential individuals. It's like you can read from apocryphal text, let's just say. But if you're reading from an apocryphal text and I'm reading from, let's say, a church father that is Orthodox, I'd trust that guy over an apocryphal text.
Yeah, I see what you mean. But
yeah. So I'm so sorry, guys. Daniel, I'm so sorry, brother. It's 5:59. I got to be on a podcast at 6 o'clock. So I literally have to turn this off and then jump onto the Wine Jesus Network. The guys are waiting for me. So, folks, if you're watching this, do me a favor. Actually, can we drop in the link there? I'll say goodbye to you guys because you guys are on Discord. Let's turn this off. And then I'll drop the link and just direct you guys to go to the Why Jesus Network and check out the podcast I'm going to be on with the guys. So thank you guys for all being in this Discord chat. I love this. I think this is a very good way of having these conversations, and we can have multiple people. So, folks, please jump into Discord, and so you can have these sorts of conversations that are edifying and good for us. So appreciate you guys being in this conversation. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Arthur.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna drop the link right now so you guys can just immediately go there. Good convo, yeah. Amen to that. So, folks, that's the link. Go check that out. We will be on there right now. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for the awesome conversations today. I'll see you guys in a bit. Take care and God bless.